Good morning, students. So, in the previous class, we have completed the chapter that is System of Particles and Rotational Motion. Today, I am going to start the new chapter that is chapter number 8, Gravitation. So, in this chapter, we are going to understand first of all what is meant by gravitation. So, gravitation is all of us we are going to experience in day-to-day life activities that any body which is thrown upwards is going to come towards the earth. ಕೆಳಗಡೆನೇ ಬರ್ತದೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ಒಂದು ವಸ್ತು ಮೇಲ್ಗಡೆ ಇದು ನಾವು ಎಸೆದಾಗ because the earth is having the gravitational force ಗುರುತ್ವಾಕರ್ಷಣೆ ಶಕ್ತಿ ಭೂಮಿಗಿದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. It is the force which is going to be exerted by the earth on the surface of on the bodies which are on the surface or above the surface of the earth is what is called as gravitational force. So here in this chapter, mainly you are going to first understand the important Kepler's laws of planetary motion. Means all of us we are aware that all the planets are going to revolve around the sun in elliptical orbits. So this was first discovered by the scientist known as Kepler, and he made three important laws on the basis of the motion of the planets around the sun. So they were popularly called as Kepler's laws of planetary motion. So which are the three important Kepler's laws we are going to discuss one by one. So first law, let us consider the first law of Kepler. So the law is popularly called as law of orbits. So what this first law states is that all the planets revolve around the sun in an elliptical orbit with the sun at one of the foci. So here I am going to explain you with the diagram. So this is what we are observing, the white color chalk piece, that is the elliptical orbit. So this is called as elliptical orbit. Here I have written. So this is the position of the sun. So this is called as focus, and you can observe two lines here, dotted line. So this line is called as the larger one. So this is called as semi-major axis, and this is semi-minor axis. And there are going to be two centers for the ellipse. So they are called as one is focus 1, that is another one is focus 2. So that is called as foci. So let the sun is at one of the center of the elliptical orbit. So let here sun is present at one of the center of the elliptical orbit. So here we have shown the position of the sun here. This is another position of the sun, another center of the elliptical orbit. Wherein you can observe we have written here A, here it is P. So P is nothing but it is called as perihelion, that is the nearest point of the earth's surface. So that is a planet, nearest point of the planet from the sun, that is called as perihelion. The farthest point of the planet from the sun is called as aphelion. So there are 2 points. So then this is minor axis. So smaller one is minor axis. Later this is the position of the planet. So it is going to revolve here in elliptical orbits continuously like this. So every planet is going to revolve around the sun in an elliptical orbit. So we have already known there are 8 to 9 planets are there. So they are going to revolve around the sun in elliptical orbit. So this is the first law. That is famously it is called as law of orbits. Means it stresses upon the elliptical orbits. All the planets revolve in elliptical orbits around the sun, with sun at one of the foci. Means sun is present at any one of the focus. All the planets revolve in elliptical orbit. This is first law. Then coming to the second law. Second law is called as law of areas. So it is popularly called as law of areas. So what this second law? So it is going to states is that the line joining the planet to the sun covers equal areas in equal intervals of time. This is the second law. The line joining the sun to the planet, covers equal areas in equal intervals of time. So this is the second law. So how to understand this? Let us consider again once again, this is the elliptical orbit here, and this is aphelion, farthest point. This is the nearest point of the sun. Sun is here. This is nearest point of the planet from the sun. Wherein you can see, suppose the sun is at P1, and if you draw the line here, so from planet to the sun, this is the largest line. You can see P1 yes is bigger. Whereas suppose the sun, the sun is revolving here, and it has came from P1 to P2, P3. So P3 to S, if you join, so this line is smaller. Now, so let us consider sun has moved from P1 to P2, and you can join the lines P1 to S, P2 to S. Now, if you measure the area, so if you measure the area, that is P1 S P2, and if you consider again in another case, let us consider sun is moved from P3 to P4. So if you join the line from P3 to S and P4 to S, you can observe this is the area. Now if we calculate the area covered or area swept by the sun, area swept by the planet, so this area and this area, both the areas are going to be equal. So that is why the law states the line joining the planet to the sun or sun to the planet covers equal areas in equal intervals of time. Equal areas in equal intervals of time means what? So if you take the time here t, so at the same time, so sun here it is moving only this much distance here, small distance here, right? But here at the same time the distance moved by the sun P3 to P4 is more, that is linear distance is more. But here the area covered, so here the planet is going to rotate with larger speed here the planet is going to rotate with a small speed here. So therefore, so the speed of the planet here from P1 to P2 is small, whereas the speed of the planet from P3 to P4 is large. Therefore, at the same time, if you take at the same time here also same time, the area covered is going to be equal. So that is the law is going to stress upon. So here area P1 SP2 so is almost equal to P3 SP4. So this is the second law of areas. So this is second law. Then coming to the third law. So third law, so it stresses upon the what is called as the time period. The time period. You can observe here t square is directly proportional to r cube. So what it states is the square of the time period of revolution of the planet around the sun is directly proportional to or is equal to cube of its semi-major axis. Cube of its semi-major axis means what? The time period. What is meant by time period? Time period is nothing but time taken to complete one revolution. Here means suppose the planet is moving from aphelion. If it goes once around, if it comes to once again A at point A, this is called as one rotation or one revolution, and it is called as time period. So how this time period is depending upon, the time period depends upon the size of the cube of the semi-major axis. Cube of the semi-major axis I have told you. So this is semi-major axis. This is semi-major axis. This is semi-minor axis. So on the basis of this length of the semi-major axis, the time period depends. Obviously, if the semi-major axis is shorter, then time period is going to be shorter. Time period is going to be reduced. If it goes on increases, then time period also increases. That is the meaning. That is the square of the time period of the revolution of the planet is directly proportional to cube of its semi-major axis. So these are the three important laws of Kepler. Now coming to the another important law in this chapter, that is called as Newton's universal law of gravitation. So on the basis of the Kepler's ideas and the data, Newton, all of you know, the famous scientist Newton has proposed various laws, and on the basis of gravitation also he has proposed the law that is called as the famous universal law of gravitation. So what this law states is, so every object or every particle or every body in the universe attracts every another body with a force which is whose magnitude is directly proportional to the product of the mass of the two bodies or two particles, and which is inversely proportional to the square of the distance between them. Means what? So here I have written. So let us consider here, in order to understand this, let us consider this is one particle and this is another particle. Two particles are there. So let us consider this is particle A, this is particle B. So every particle in the universe, if this is particle in India, this is the particle in any another country or any other planet. So there is going to be force of attraction between them according to Newton. Both the particles or both the bodies are going to attract with each other. So how this force is going to be calculated, or how this force depends upon the force between these two, the force of attraction between these two. So this particle attracts this one and this particle attracts this one. So therefore, so A is going to attract B and B is going to attract A. So both are, B is going to attract A is going to attract B. So there is going to be attraction between these two. And on what the factor, the force of attraction depends. So the force of attraction between these two is directly proportional to mass of the two bodies. So let M1 is the mass of A, M2 is the mass of B. Then the force of attraction is directly proportional to product of the mass of the two particles, M1 and M2, M1 into M2. And secondly, so here second point is, he says that this force, there is force of attraction between these two. So this is inversely proportional to square of the distance between them. What is the distance? Let R be the distance between these two. Then F is inversely proportional to square of the distance between them. What is the meaning? If R is small, if the distance between these two is small, then force of attraction is large. If R is very very large, then force of attraction is small. Inversely means opposite to each other. If distance between two bodies, let us consider these are the two bodies. If distance is very small, then force of attraction is very very large. If distance goes on increases, force of attraction goes on decreases. So this is the meaning of the inverse square law. So therefore, combining these two, 1 and 2 equations, we can write here F is equal to G into M1 M2 divided by R square. So what is G here? So G is called as a universal gravitational constant. Universal, it is a constant of proportionality. So it is called as universal gravitational constant, and the value of this was discovered by Cavendish scientist. The value of this is 6.67 into 10 to the power of minus 11 Newton meter square kg raised to minus 2. So therefore F is equal to G into M1 M2 by R square is one of the important the expression which is to be used to remember the Newton's law of gravitation. So here you can see here F is directly proportional to M1 M2, F is inversely proportional to R square. You can understand the expression. Now, after knowing the Newton's universal law of gravitation, important law, now let us consider the another important concept, that is acceleration due to gravity of the earth. So this is very important. If you want to calculate what is the acceleration due to gravity of the bodies on the surface of the earth. For example, if I kept the chalk piece on this table, or if we have placed a table on the surface of the earth, then with how much force the earth is attracting the bodies towards it. ಈಗ ಒಂದು chalk piece ಮೇಲೆ ಇಡೋದೇನೆ ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಭೂಮಿದು ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಎಷ್ಟು ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ರ ಮೇಲೆ ಆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಎಷ್ಟು ಫೋರ್ಸ್ ಲೇ ಈ ಕಡೆ ಕೆಳಗಡೆ ಜಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕತ್ತದ, that is called as acceleration due to gravity. So that we can calculate with the help of formula so let us consider how to derive this formula. So in order to derive this formula, let us consider here one small diagram. So let us consider this is the earth surface. So this is the earth surface, this is center of the earth. So from the center of the earth to the earth surface, let R, capital R be the radius. That is called as radius of the earth. I hope you can understand. Then let M be the mass of this whole earth, capital M be the mass of the earth. And I have placed a small object, let us consider a ball. I have kept a small ball on the surface of the earth. On the surface of the earth. Let small m be the mass of that ball. Now, what is the acceleration due to gravity which is going to be experienced by the ball? What is the acceleration due to gravity which is experienced by the ball on the which is placed on the surface of the earth? So, this we can calculate by considering the Newton's universal law of gravitation. So, let us consider here F is equal to G into M divided by R square. So, that is already we have derived here. That is Newton's universal law of gravitation. So, now let us here consider here F is equal to M into G. Already we know this. That is F is equal to M into A. That is the famous formula. So, by considering equations 1 and 2, so here LHS are same, F is equal to, so therefore MC is equal to G into capital M into M divided by R square. So M get cancels, so we have G is equal to G into M divided by R square. So what is this G, small g? Small g is called as acceleration due to gravity of the earth. Small g is called as acceleration due to gravity of the earth. By knowing the value of G, capital G, what is capital G already? So you know this G is equal to 6.67 into 10 to the power of minus 11. That is the value of the gravitational constant. And what is capital M? Capital M is the mass of the earth. Capital M is the mass of the earth. So already mass of the earth is calculated and it is known. And RE, that is radius of the earth. Radius of the earth is also we know. Mass of the earth also we know. Capital G is also known. So by knowing this, so value of G is can be calculated. The value of G on the surface of the earth, so it is found to be 9.8 meter per second square. So this is the value of G on the surface of the earth. 9.8 meters per second square. This is acceleration due to gravity of the earth. So it is going to vary on the surface of the earth, but not too much. So this is about the some of the important concepts